So we got the beginner's guide to Minesweeper. Wait, shit. Gotta learn how to play Minesweeper. I'm gonna go no Subway Surfers this time.
Get started.
Actually no, I'm gonna get the Subway Surfers
How to get good at
There we go.
playing the game Minesweeper. Real quickly, why should you trust me to tell you how to get good? I do currently hold a world record for speedrunning Minesweeper, and I am one of the top 10 Minesweeper speedrunners in the UK. First things first, let's get into how the game actually works. So you're given this board of squares or cells, which you can click on to uncover what's underneath. Each cell contains one of three things: a mine, an empty space, or a number. Your goal is to clear all of the cells which don't contain a mine. Click a mine, you blow up, and the game is lost. The top left number represents how many unmarked mines there are. The top right number represents the timer, and the smiley face is what you click on to start new game. So, besides the mines, the cells can either contain an empty cell or a number. The numbers being the more important ones of the two. Each number represents how many mines there are next to that specific cell. So, for example, this number 1 here means that there is one mine in these 8 surrounding cells. Using the information that this gives you, you can work out where the mines are so you can avoid them and click on all of the safe ones to win the game. The empty cells are basically saying there are no mines around it at all. So the game will uncover the ones around it for you. Not something that you need to worry about too much. But if you get gifted the clearing, that's where they're coming from. Okay. Now we know how stuff works. Let's have a go at playing a game. Starting off the game, the first click that you take will always be safe. Depending on which version of the game you're using, this first click might always come with a small opening. If it does, that's great. If it doesn't, your best bet to find an opening of your own is to start in one of the corners. For this game, I'll be starting in the top left corner, and as you can see, I am not using a version which gives me an opening every time. So I'm going to try the next corner, and there we go. We have something to work with. So now you can see that a bunch of numbers have been revealed. At first glance, you might be thinking, okay, so what do I do with this? And where do I start working out where the mines are? The easiest places to look are the numbers which which are only connected to the uncleared cells by just the corner. For example, looking at this one here, it's only attached to this one by the corner. This one means that there is one mine around this number, and since this is the only cell which isn't already clear, we know that the only option is for the mine to be in here. Once we know that, we can right click on the cell to flag the mine. Right clicking it again removes the flag if you ever do change your mind. Here's another one. A one just connected by the corner, which means that the only possible option is for the mine to be here. This leads me to my favorite buzzword to start off with, the corner ones. Whenever you need a place to start looking, finding the ones that are attached by just the corners like this are always the easy targets, and they normally help you find the first few mines to help you get going with the rest of the game. Now that we have found some mines and marked them, we can start to use this information with the other numbers. Have a look at this one next to this part that we just did. Since there's a flag next to it, we know that this is where the mine is. And there's only one mine around this one, which is here. So all of the others around it have to be free so we can clear them. Before we get any further, I'm going to introduce you to something very important. How you should be clearing the cells. According the secret technique to getting good at Minesweeper, which a lot of people don't realize exists. Let's take the example of what we had just now. We had the number 1 and we had a flag next to it to show us where the mine is. So we were free to clear all of these 4. However, when you have flagged the correct number of mines around a number, say 1 flag around a 1 or 2 flags around a 2, you have told the game that you have that number sorted and that all of the other cells around it are safe. So if you left and right click at the same time on the number, the game will clear all of the non-flagged cells for you. If you do get the mines wrong, so you have the wrong number of flags around the number, instead of this leading to you clicking on a mine and losing the game, your cord simply wouldn't work and you can have another try at working out what's going on. If you have the right number of flags just in the wrong place, you will still lose by calling off this number. but it does give you some level of safety net. Another benefit of coding is the freedom you have to check if a number is finished or not. So instead of double checking that a number has enough flags around it to go forward, you can simply code off it and see if it works or not. If you ever have flags and don't see how to use them properly, you can literally go around the edges, coding them all to see what happens. Although that can work surprisingly well, I would recommend being aware of why your chords are working. So, for the future, not getting into too much of a habit of going into a blind clicking spree and seeing if it works or not. It does help in the long run to have a good understanding of why your chords are working. One thing you might have noticed while I was doing this is that even when the numbers aren't complete, when they don't have the right number of flags around them, it still presses down the cells surrounding the number. This can be quite a useful testing tool to see exactly which cells the number is relating to. Sometimes giving yourself this more visual perspective can be very useful to clear up what you should be thinking about. For example, clicking on this one here shows that these are the cells that this one is referring to. With this new trick up our sleeve, let's keep going with our game. We can see that we have uncovered a new corner one. See this one at the corner here, meaning that this one is a mine and we can flag it. Now we have a 1 next to a flag, which means that it's finished and we can call off it, which clears all of the other cells around it. Again, now there's a new one still next to that flag, so we can call off this one as well. With our most recent flag, this too now has 2 flags next to it, which lets us call off it as well. And of course, the one above it. Here's another corner one that we can flag. And now we've done that, we can look around next to the flag we have just placed. So, more ones next to the flag lets us call off those as well. Now at this point, it might look like we've run out of tricks a little, but you might have noticed that the corner strategy doesn't just work with ones. As a general rule, finding the numbers with the least amount of options are going to be the easiest ones to work out. So, even though this one is a 2, it is still only connected to just 2 uncleared cells, which means that both of them have to be flags. Now we can call off this 2 because there's 2 flags, and then this one connected to this flag. Again, over here, there's this 2 off to the corner with only 2 options for the mines to be in. So the mine has to be here. With these new flags, we can start to call off the ones next to it. For this one, this one, this one, and this one. Then moving over here, this one has a flag next to it, so we can click this. Here's another example of a 2 with only 2 places for the mines to go into. So we can flag this, call off this, call off this. Now, this is where the few tricks so far do run out. Nothing to call off and no easy corners for us. However, Minesweeper is a game based on logic. So, even without all of these tricks, you are able to work things out by thinking about them properly. So, finding the numbers with the fewest options, just like before. Let's start at this left edge, since this one is slightly more limited. We want to see how this one works together with this one next to it to see what it tells us. This is where we can use coding in the other way to help give us a more clear idea of what we're looking at. So, this one is relating to these two cells. And this one is relating to these three cells. One in those two, one in these three. Notice how the first two cells are shared by both of the ones. From the first one, we know that there must be a mine in one of these two cells. If it's in either of those two, it would also leave the second one complete as well. This means that the third cell along must not have a mine in, and we can clear it. If you ever need help visualizing logic, you can play around placing flags to see how things would work. For example, if there was a flag here, there would still need to be another flag for this one. So it doesn't work, and we can see how this third cell has to be free. Now, this leaves us with this 2 here, with only 2 cells around it, meaning that they both must be mines. So with these flags placed, this second 2 is now finished, so we can call off it. And with just one more click, we have won the game and beaten our first game of Minesweeper. With all these things, you are basically free to start properly tackling the game. Before I go on to how to now become good, I think it's time to address luck in Minesweeper. You may have heard the rumors, but unfortunately, the game does have an element of luck in it. Even when you think hard enough, sometimes the conclusion is that you just don't have enough information and you have to guess. The most infamous case being the 50/50s. As you can see here, all these numbers tell us is that there is one mine in either of these 2 cells. If you can't see anything that works ever, this might be the reason, but try not to blame things on be surprised at how you can figure things out sometimes. For some perspective on luck, here's the percentage win rate of each of the modes, provided you do all of the logic properly. If you ever want to play with no luck involved, there is a good no guessing mode on the website World of Minesweeper, which I will link in the description. Now, time for patterns. After playing the game for a while, you start to notice that the logic of how these numbers work together keep on showing up in the same patterns. Being able to recognize these patterns is the key to being able to solve quickly and easily. Once you have them all figured out, you start to realize that the game is practically made of patterns. The good thing about patterns is that as long as you put in the hard work figuring them out once, all you need to do is recognize it and remember it the next time for it to work. It's like someone gave you a math question one day. Say 64 times 12. It might take you a second to get the answer the first time, but if that person came back to you every single day, you would just be ready immediately with the answer. I could could just give you a list of all of the patterns along with their solutions for you to screenshot as a reference sheet and go on your way. But in this video, I am not going to do that. Growing a better understanding through figuring out how they work yourself is, in my opinion, the better way to learn. So instead, I will solve a couple of examples and simply point you in the direction of some of the other existing ones. Let's start off with something that we have seen already in our first game, the 1-1 pattern. If you remember how we worked through it, the mine for the first one will always satisfy the second one, so the third cell must always be free. This logic can actually be applied any time you see two ones next to each other like this, and therefore it's a pattern. Next time you see them, without as much thinking, we now just know that the third cell is free. It is not always the most useful pattern in the world, but it can get you out of some spots and is one of the more commonly seen ones. Going over one more pattern, let's talk about the 3 on a straight. Probably the most basic one that I would even call a pattern. But since on a straight line like this, it can only be next to 3 cells, so you can always flag along the line. Definitely something that you could see with logic, but recognizing it saves the time of counting. The following are the other main patterns that exist in the game, and I would implore you to look out for them. Pay attention when they pop up and try to figure out how they work. And once you do that, see if you can apply it when you see them again in the future. If you're going to choose one to start with, picking up the 1-2-1 is probably the one you would appreciate the most. I do think there are benefits in going through the process yourself, but if you do want to see me work through all of the solutions to these patterns, you can click onto this video here. If you're looking out for any of these patterns, you might think that you see them occasionally, but still not all that often. Little do you know, these patterns are all over the board, just hidden in different ways to represent them. This might sound like a pain, but all it involves is a tiny bit of subtraction to see how things work out. The official name for this is reduction. Let's look at an example. So, in this bit, we have a 2, 3, 2. And we're trying to clear this line here. If we were to look at each number, this 2 means that there's 2 mines in here, minus the 1 flag we already have. So essentially, when it comes to the context that we're trying to clear, it functions as a 1. Looking at the 3, it's the same deal. Essentially counting as a 2 for these cells. The idea that you can use here is that if you're trying to figure out a number which already has some flags around it, the effective number is the number shown minus the number of mines already known around it. Same again for this 2. So this sequence here may as well be a 1, 2, 1, which you may recognize as a pattern from earlier. For one more example, looking at this 3, there are 2 flags around it, so we can reduce the number by 2, which means that for the logic that we care about, the 3 is acting as a 1, which lets us see that this part essentially acts as a 1-1 pattern. As for progressing through the game, there are 3 different modes: beginner, intermediate, and expert. I would recommend getting comfortable winning most of the time on beginner before going on to intermediate, then getting comfortable winning most of the time on intermediate before trying out expert. If you have managed to take in all of these things, you've got all of the ingredients needed to start becoming the Minesweeper Pro you've always dreamed of becoming. That's all I have to say in this guide. I do also stream Minesweeper on Twitch. My link is in the description, as well as the link to the Minesweeper website that I use. Thanks for watching. Have fun sweeping.
Alright, so now that we just watched the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Minesweeper, we can play Minesweeper. So, I make this a little bigger. Nope, wrong one. Boom. And now I will beat Minesweeper. Let's go. First time playing, obviously. We're gonna go nice and slow. Please don't choke. That is the goal. Nice. We're locked in. 3. We're